You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Obviously, as LSU's preparing for the bowl game, the offensive line and who's going to be available is massive. So Brian Kelly said Miles Frazier will play. That's great. Paul Mabenga, DJ Chester gave you a lot of reps this year, so you're starting there. We'll find out about Garrett Dellinger, what his decision is going to be. But Dellinger and Frazier are both going to be gone, along with Campbell and Jones. So you know you're losing 4 of your starters on the offensive line. And the one guy returning is DJ Chester, who played center for you this year. And just being very candid, that was the weak link on your offensive line. And Chester probably was playing out of position as a bigger center. You know, talked to T-Bob about this after almost every game at Don Juan. And T-Bob, of course, guy who played center. Chester, one of the big issues he had being a bigger guy was letting guys get into his pads, get lower than him, and you get pushed back, and that was a big problem. I mean, you don't have to understand film breakdown, reviews, and things like that to understand conceptually LSU struggled on the interior, especially when Garrett Dellinger went out and he didn't have help for DJ Chester. Well, it looks like the Tigers are about to get some big help there. Steve Wiltfong, National Recruiting Director for On3, Pete Nakos, who's the Woj, Bomb, Schefter version of On3's transfer portal news, and our very own Shea Dixon are all reporting that Braelin Moore is going to transfer from Virginia Tech and pick LSU. So that would be a massive get again. Braelin Moore has not publicly committed. We don't have any official word from LSU, but all 3 of them have put in predictions for Braelin Moore to pick LSU. And a lot of you have been wondering, as we've talked plenty about receiver and tight end, and we've seen safeties and edge rushers all take visits to LSU, what about the offensive line? Well, here is one massive piece. Offensive line was a definite need in this cycle. And it is going to be interesting in I'm going to tell you about Braelin Moore in a second, but it is going to be interesting in 2025 to see how they balance the young talent against veterans out of the portal. On signing day, when Brian Kelly met with reporters and he was talking about NIL, one thing he said is, we can't play 5 freshmen and a sophomore and expect to compete like we did on Saturday. And that was after the Vanderbilt game. And he was talking about defense, but it's true on both sides of the ball. And on the offensive line, you have recruited numbers and talent on the offensive line. Like, that's inarguable. Tyree Adams, Paul Mabenga, DJ Chester, Weston Davis, Cohen Eccles, Kyrie Lee, Ori Williams, Ethan Callaway. Look at this signing class. Solomon Thomas, a 5-star. Carius Kern, the number 1 player in Arkansas, arguably the top 2 interior linemen in the country. Miller from Mississippi. Bordelon from Newman. Those are all interior linemen, but look at the numbers. That's 4 in this year's signing class. The 3 guys from last year's signing class that didn't play, that's 7. And then the 6 that I mentioned on top of that. You're talking about 12 scholarship linemen right there. Like, you have young, talented guys, which you don't have is experience. Outside of Chester and Mabenga, the experience they got this year. So, in adding someone potentially here like Braelin Moore, it feels massively significant because Braelin Moore at Virginia Tech has played a ton of games. 28 games played, 24 games started. So as a freshman in 2022, he played in 4 games. And then in 2023, started all 12 at center. 2024, started all 12 at center for Virginia Tech. It's very hard because I can't tell you statistics for an offensive lineman. This is where like Pro Football Focus grades, I think, come into play and can be beneficial. For context, LSU starting center this year, DJ Chester, for the entire season, graded out by Pro Football Focus at a 49. The next lowest graded LSU offensive lineman was Emory Jones at a 61.5. Now keep in mind, Will Campbell and Garrett Dellinger and Miles Frazier were among LSU's highest graded players on either side of the ball. in large part because of their pass protection, but it's irrelevant. Point is, Chester graded at a 49. Emory Jones, who's still very good, graded a 61.5. Braelin Moore, 69.6. So you're talking about a guy that started 24 games, 2-year starter, and was dramatically better than the guy that started for you this year and dramatically better than the guy that just left to go early in the draft. This is not just a body. LSU 2 years ago signed Mason Lunsford out of the portal from Maryland. And he had played some and started some and rotated, was kind of a rotational piece. But Mason Lunsford came here and couldn't get on the field. This isn't a guy that's coming here to try to win a spot. This is your starting center next year. Provided the report from Pete Nako, Steve Wiltfong, and Shea Dixon that he's picking LSU, provided those guys are right. I have no reason to believe they aren't. They're all very reputable. And when I see that many of them all on the same page with something, it tells you they know something. It tells me they know something. This is massive. So now I look at it and I go, now not only do you know Braelin Moore is coming in as an experienced, really highly regarded center who will be playing his 4th year of college football, but that also means DJ Chester's not back at center. Now, I think DJ Chester can be a really good player, and the fact that he started every game for you this year is a big deal. He got a ton of experience. But now you can move DJ Chester to guard. You can take Braelin Moore, plug him in at center because he's immediately your best center, and maybe Chester and Mubinga become your starting guards. Or maybe Bo Bordelon is one of your starting guards, and Chester's the other. And maybe Mubinga plays tackle, along with Tyree Adams and Weston Davis. And you figure out what that rotation is going to be or how you win jobs. But it answers what was unquestionably the biggest question on your offensive line, which was DJ Chester at center. And now you've replaced him with a dominant starter. You've immediately upgraded that position. And now you can take Chester and put him in a spot that's more natural for him with all the experience he's got. Massive get for LSU. Again, provided that as of 4:46 p.m. here on Friday, we'll see that this does go official. But if the reports are accurate, this would be massive for LSU with Braelin Moore at center. What a big day it's turning out to be. It is official that Bauer Sharp, the tight end, is on board for the Tigers, and there's a lot more of this windfall coming. Braelin Moore, the center. LSU's projected to land Barry and Brown, the receiver from Kentucky. A lot of the Jakeem Jackson, the cornerback from Florida. LSU's projected these. And it signifies a shift, a pivot. Whether Brian Kelly wants to use that word or not is irrelevant. You're not just getting bodies or depth in the portal. You are getting starters. You are getting, like, when LSU's first team offense runs out against Clemson week 1 next year, Braelin Moore, provided he signs, will be your starting center. Bauer Sharp will be your starting tight end. This is inarguable. You're not just getting bodies to come in and compete. You're getting starters, impact starters. That makes you better. It's what they had to do. So I kept telling you, talk to me in a month. The arrow is pointing up. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.